Hi, I'm Chris Harlow, CEO of Harlow Wealth Management. Recently, our founder, Danny Harlow, or as I like to call him, Dad, celebrated his 50th anniversary in the business. An amazing achievement. You know, as a young kid when I was growing up, it was normal to see Dad go to work. It was just a normal part of the day. Now, as CEO of the firm that he created, I have the utmost respect and admiration for all that he has accomplished and the many families that he has single-handedly helped. Harlow Wealth Management has grown a lot from those early years. Recently, I had the pleasure to sit down and interview him and reflect on the past 50 years. These years were filled with ups, downs, and everything in between. I hope you enjoy this interview with my dad and founder of Harlow Wealth Management, Danny Harlow. All right, Dad, 50 years in the business.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. What an achievement. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
I'm happy that you sat down with me to have this interview. I got a number of questions I want to ask you, but I want to start with, where does your story begin? How did you get started in this industry, and what did it look like 50 years ago?
You know, Chris, that's really a good question, and I really appreciate this opportunity to talk with you too, because it's, not a lot of father and sons get to do something like this together. But as far as your question goes, your grandpa, my dad, was in the life insurance business when I was born. So it even goes back even further than 50 years. I've been 50 years, but I've been associated to some sort of the insurance business for a long, long time. I saw that my father was pretty successful in the business and what he did. But what really started off was he did a lot of just life insurance selling is what he did. And going back 50 years ago in the business, we didn't have near as much products or opportunities out there today. It was a real simple business 50 years ago. You didn't have to learn that much. You had to get a license and you had to learn the products. And then again, you just had to go out and believe in what you were doing and talking to the people. So that's how I kind of got started. I followed in the footsteps. My dad always wanted to have a Harlow insurance agency. That was kind of his goal and his dream for a long time. But I can honestly say it was never my dream. That was not something I ever looked forward to doing, is getting into the insurance business and selling life insurance. That was not my goal in life at that time. But I fell into it. I saw what my dad did, and I saw that he was successful doing that, and I thought, well, I could do that, and I just kind of naturally fell into it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And before you got into the financial services business and partnering up with Grandpa, you played golf. You're a golf professional. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was, and I think it's one of the reasons I ended up in the insurance business, because I wasn't that good of a professional golfer. Actually, I was a pretty good golfer, as a matter of fact, but as you well know, being a golfer yourself, the name of the game is getting the ball in the hole in the fewest number of times, which means you have to be a good putter in the business. Yep. And I was always just an average putter. So I realized pretty early that this was not a career that I was going to be able to do. I had a dream of being on the tour. I played some professional golf tournaments and stuff for many years. I was behind the counter in pro shops, did lessons and played tournament golfs around the area. But I realized that's not something that I was going to be able to do full time. So I thought, okay, I'll just get in the business with my dad and start doing that.
Interesting. Well, as you got into the business, you started in insurance, and as time went on, things evolved, and you started. The business started to grow, and you started to have other types of financial instruments, investments, products that you started to sell.
That's true.
Tell us a little bit about what those looked like back then.
Well, we had a program with a particular company, and really it was one program that they promoted throughout their entire company. And it was an insurance-oriented program, but it was really focused on helping people accumulate money for retirement. So it was a retirement planning product even though it was a life insurance type policy, sold as a retirement plan. And that intrigued me because I felt like, that was an important thing for people to do, was to set aside money in retirement. And then actually in the 80s, the mutual fund industry really started cranking up a lot. So we got involved in mutual fund selling. We had to go out and get different licenses for that. But you know what? Nobody was really doing it much back then. We didn't really have registered investment advisors back then, as much as it's advertised today. It was all commission-based selling is what it was. But that's what the industry did. So we had several, mutual funds. The company I was associated to developed the broker-dealer aspect of things and promoted the mutual fund industry. So that changed too. So that gave us another area to talk to people about. Way back then is when IRAs really jumped into the field. Okay, so yeah. I was before IRAs out there in the business. I know, and then 401ks but then again, it still all centered itself around accumulating money for retirement, and that became the focus as it even is today. But what's interesting, even more so today, is not the accumulation aspect of things today. It's the decumulation aspect of things today, more on now the actual retirement side of the business, and that's mainly about income.
Right. It's interesting. You can see how the industry has evolved over time, even over your career, as well as your business. Being the founder of Harlow Wealth Management, how has the business itself changed from those early years to maybe what it is currently?
Huge. Big changes. Products have changed it. The philosophy of how to talk to people about retirement planning has changed. Another aspect of change in the industry has been compliance. So the compliance side of the business has been really, really good because it's forced us to make sure that we do what's in the best interest of our clients today. Back then, there was no such thing as compliance. So you could say whatever you wanted to say as long as you were being honest and ethical about what you were presenting. But even the companies back then, compliance wasn't like before you say something or do something, you have to get it approved. We didn't have anything like that back then. Today, we can't do anything without getting it approved, which has a good way, to it as well, because it's protecting the people in our country today. Because no matter what, no matter how much someone says, I'm going to do what's in the best interest of my client, there's a lot of people out there that are going to do what's in their best interest first and maybe the client second. And that's the sad thing about what I've seen in the industry. There's been a lot of, even though there's always been people that have taken advantage of people out there today, it's even more so today because I've seen the baby boomers, so to speak, which is what I'm in the middle of being a baby boomer. The baby boomers have done a pretty good job of accumulating money. They've inherited money from their parents. The generation before us were big savers. So a lot of those savers that money got passed on to another generation. And as a result, there's a lot of money hanging out there today, and there's a lot of people that want to get their hands on it, and they'll do whatever they can to take advantage of that. And that's not how to stay in business. That's how to get in a lot of trouble. And the regulatory environment has really kind of forced the industry to make sure they're dotting the I's and crossing the T's the way they should have been doing for a long time now.
Yeah. And rightly they should, right? And making sure things are done correctly. That's name of the game. You've talked about how the products have changed, the investment landscape, the choices have changed, the business, Harlow Wealth Management, how that's changed. How about your clients? How have your clients changed from those early days to something a little bit more current?
Well, going a long time ago, a lot of my clients were in their 20s or their 30s. They had small families, they had, mortgages on their home, so the need for life insurance was greater in that particular area. But still, it was harder back then to sell a 20 or a 30-year-old on retirement, okay? You don't see it. You can't see that far into the future. So then as I grew into the business and Harlow Wealth Management grew, we started to realize that the focus is really trying to help people accumulate money and get to that point. So we want to help people not only get to retirement, and a lot of people have figured out how to get there, but what they're missing now is how to get through it. People still want to accumulate money. People are still concerned about an income in retirement, and they're still concerned about making sure they don't run out of money in retirement. But the other thing that's really different today is that not very many people have pension plans anymore. Mm-hmm. Pension plans were, everybody had one. In fact, 90% of the people or something like that had one, 30, 40 years ago. Today, 10 or 15% of the people have pension plans. So as you well know, people coming in today in their 60s or 65, 70 and beyond, very few of them have a qualified pension plan anymore. So they need even more help in what to do with this 401k or the retirement accounts that they have, because as you know, the biggest bucket of money that we're seeing that people have today is the money they have in their 401k accounts. And now they're there, but they really don't know what to do. And that's where Harlow Wealth Management has really been focusing, is trying to help people do what they need to do now at this time to solve the goals that they have and the concerns that they have about retirement.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it sounds like your philosophy to business has changed over the years. Your approach to business has changed. Your process to how you help your clients has changed. And, I know one of the main aspects of the business here at Harlow Wealth is our process. It's the Harlow way, and how everybody here, all the advisors here, have really added into that process to make sure that our clients are really taken the best care of, and making sure that their financial plan is built on a solid foundation. Your vision for Harlow Wealth Management is what?
It's a good question, Chris. Because I'm in my 70s now. You're in your 40s. And the succession plan has always been, I want to see Harlow Wealth Management continue. How long can I continue it? Well, not as long as you can. So we've got the business to a point now where it's got a very, very solid foundation with you in the leadership. And I appreciate that. As a succession plan, you are the succession plan of the business, Chris. And what you've been able to do and to bring to Harlow Wealth Management, the foundation may have already been set, but we're growing it now. And as a result of that, it's that process. And you've been very instrumental in that process, and how we actually talk to people today, the approach that we take, the plan that's put together. We tell people all the time, do you have a written plan? How many people really have a written plan?
Yeah, not a lot.
Not very many. And yet, they need that, and they want that. So what we're trying to do in the vision in Harlow Wealth Management is to provide that financial leadership for people. And we've been using that a lot lately because I know there's a lot of people out there that give advice. There's a lot of good financial advisors out there today, and there's a lot of good firms out there today. And they all want to do the right thing for people, But I think what we're seeing out there today is you can get advice from anybody. You can get advice from coworkers. You can get advice from your brother or your brother-in-law, from your neighbor. But what they do is not necessarily what you should be doing. So there's a lot of advice out there, but there's not a lot of financial leadership. And financial leadership, I think, is the key to Harlow Wealth Management. What we're trying to provide the people in our communities today is the leadership to help them make the kind of decisions that they need to make to feel comfortable and not have to worry about their retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, last question. I want you to leave us with a good nugget of wisdom, as we like to say. You've had 50 years to think about this answer, and you've gone through a lot of ups, maybe a few downs along the way, but I know if anybody can give us some good insight, it's you. What do you got?
Stay healthy. As I've aged and gotten older and seen your grandma who lives with us age, that health is really important. Take good care of yourself. And everybody wants to live a long time, but at the same time, you got to take good care of your financial health as well. One thing that we promote a lot today that is really important in today is getting as much tax-free money into your life as you possibly can. If you're younger and you're listening to this and watching this, do the Roth IRAs, the Roth 401ks, or whatever might be out there, because tax-free is going to be like gold in the future, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to need and want to be in that environment. So stay healthy, love your family, and for those of you who have grandkids, hug them all the time, because I'm telling you, not only do your kids grow up really fast, but so do your grandkids.
All right, Dad. Well, thanks for taking some time with us today. 50 years, what an accomplishment. And it was certainly a pleasure to have you in.
It's my pleasure, Chris. Anytime.